All right, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's our monthly webinar series for small business, Connecting for Success. I'm Barbra Coffee, Director of Economic Initiatives for the City of Tucson. Today we'll hear from local business owners and national business pitch competition winners from the Pitch Black event that was held recently. Perfect conversation to have during a month when we celebrate Juneteenth. And we will also hear from our City of Tucson Special Events Coordinator as we think about all the festivals and celebrations and events that we're gearing back up for. It's very timely, even as we head into a July 4th weekend. We'll hear about special events, trends, and activity as it relates to small businesses and how you can best be prepared to take advantage of all the economic activities surrounding these large local events. So we will take your questions as we go this afternoon, so feel free to enter those in the chat box or the Q&A, and we'll get to as many of those as possible in our time together. We will keep all participants muted since we do have a large number of attendees, but we'll record the session and make it available for everyone, and it's usually up by tomorrow afternoon. You can find links to all our previous webinars at connecttucson.com. Today, I'll start by introducing both of our business owners and then do some moderated Q&A with them before we round out our time with our final speaker. So I'll start by introducing Barbie Hines. Barbie owns Barbie's Love for Lashes eyelash store in the Tucson Mall. She's been in the eyelash business for almost 2 years. Barbie is also a recent Pitch Black competition winner, one of 2 Tucson businesses that competed in this national competition and made it to the finals. Barbie also has been an active merchant from the start on the My Hound app, which serves to connect local consumers with local businesses. And Barbie likes to say, when you look good, you feel good. So we'll hear more about that in a moment. Next, Adia Jamille. Adia is a multidisciplinary creator. Reclamation and restitution are the keys to her work, reclaiming skills, practices, and knowledge that were lost due to being a descendant of enslaved Africans and putting them into common practice. She is a fiber artist and textile creator using a variety of traditional and contemporary practices to create her work. She is also a full spectrum doula, lactation educator, and herbalist. In her work and study as an herbalist, she is working to reclaim the history and heritage of cotton and has begun developing a line of herbal remedies that derive from the cotton plant, which is fascinating. And I can't wait to hear more about that as well. So again, just for some context, both women business owners here today recently competed in Pitch Black. It's a national competition and outreach initiative for Black business owners, startups, entrepreneurs, and creatives that are committed to creating social change and economic equality for capital investments. I'll let them each share a bit more about their experience in that competition and what it meant to them. And so let's do that. Barbie, I'm going to have you start us off and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and your experience in the Pitch Black competition. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yes, I am Barbie, the eyelash lady, as people call me. I've been in the eyelash business about 2 years now. I have a store in the mall and it's been open for almost 4 months. I started just selling eyelashes out the trunk of my car at the swap meet. And then I got into the Tucson Mall, but like right when I got in the mall, COVID hit, so we had to close for a little bit. And I had my kiosk for a while and now I have the store. Last year, there was a Black pitch competition, but it wasn't nationally, it was just within Arizona. And I competed in that one and then I won the first place as well. So it was really good competing again this year because it was national. So I just felt like we would get more of the word out and I would meet a lot more Black owned business owners, which I did. There's like a list that they give you on what they want you to talk about in the video. And it actually made me like really get back to my roots and like why I started selling eyelashes, why I started the business. So it was a good refresher too. And then just giving people an insight into my business. It's not just eyelashes, you know, we also sell and help with confidence, you know, loving yourself, loving the skin you're in. So it was good for me to be able to talk to people and let them know that like, I don't only sell eyelashes, you know. So that event itself was really fun because we did a few takes in my store and it just made me feel kind of famous because people were walking past and stuff. But overall, it was a really good turnout. There was like, they said 2,400 views. So that was really good. I really did appreciate being a part of it. Just getting more in the Black community and getting involved and realizing that there are other Black owned business owners that are just trying to make it work and to make their business prosper.
I think that's awesome. And it's inspiring, when you think about being a small business owner, um, really how busy you are, right? You're focused, you're consumed around your business, but it takes, some energy to put yourself out there. So, I mean, I think that if you had to share with other business owners, I mean, what's the importance of that? What's the importance of taking those opportunities when they come, like things like whether it's a pitch competition or other marketing programs or things? What would you say? Why is it important to do those things?
I think it's important because you never know who you can reach, who's going to see you, who's going to see your business, what connections you can make. Especially if you're kind of scared to get out of your comfort zone, because they give you a layout of what to talk about, what to do, and they help you. So if there is any more pitches, competitions, any kind of outreach that anyone can do having a small business, I think you should always do that and always have business cards in hand.
That's a great piece of advice, especially coming out of COVID. I have caught myself a couple of times already. We got so used to doing all the virtual meetings that when we are now going out in person and not having those cards, it's really a good reminder. So thanks for that. Well, Adia, let's talk to you a little bit. Share a little bit about what you've been working on, and again, some of the experiences that you've had with the pitch competition.
So for me, the pitch was actually a little bit stressful because I am one of those people that it was very much out of my comfort zone. I don't do well on camera in that type of setting. And so I was very stressed out about trying to convey how important this is to me. And what I pitched in particular was my Reclaim Cotton Herbals line, which was which is my line of healing and beauty products that I create by hand. And most of the plants that go into it, the medicine that actually goes into it, I try to grow by hand. And so one of the questions was about community and how our business impacts the community and how it's trying to support the community. And to me, what it was is it started out as an experiment for me to grow cotton. I found the seeds at the library and I was just like, let me see if I can do it. And I just wanted to kind of think about my ancestors and what it was like for them on cotton plantations. And it was just literally, that was it. As I grew it, I was trying to figure out how else I could use it. Because whenever I grow something, I figure there's gotta be more purposes. And so I started researching the plant and found out that the entire plant has a purpose, that it's edible, it's medicinal. And so I started to experiment with different ways to use it. And so when the pitch came, it was perfect timing because I had just been testing and been receiving really good feedback. And I had been using things myself. My husband is an amputee, and when he got his prosthetic leg, they give him like this little sleeve that goes over the limb that they need to replace. And he was breaking out with rashes. He has really bad eczema. And so I was like, let's try this out. And overnight, it healed it. And so when this pitch came, I was like, I've got to try, even though it makes me very uncomfortable. And so it was really great because I did give the script, and it helped me be able to focus on what to say as opposed to like trying to figure it out on my own. And so that was very helpful. And it did make it easier. I was still very nervous, of course, but it paid off, obviously. So like Barbie said, just putting yourself out there is important. I am more of I want to get to know people, and that's how I'll get new clients. And so it was really good for me to see that, yes, other people find value in what I'm doing, and I don't need to be afraid to share that with other people. And so it was a good experience overall.
That's a great story. And it does really, I think, resonate with those business owners who may find themselves or see themselves as more introverted. It's hard to put yourself out there. And so if you had to say, out of an experience like that, well, and first I want to know how long you've been in business. How long have you been an entrepreneur or been working on this business that you have created? And then, and then what are your next big steps? Like, what will you do with some of the opportunity that came out of even the recent competition funds?
So I have been an entrepreneur on and off for the last 8 years. That started primarily with my textile business, which is part of the reason why I wanted to grow cotton, because I figured I could grow the fiber and I'd be able to weave, spin it and weave it and make things that way. And I also had recently learned how to do traditional African indigo and mud dye. So I was thinking more along the lines of textile work. But I've been a doula and herbalist. I would say actually I've been an herbalist longer than I've been a doula, for about 5 years. Very focused on that goal for the last like 3 years. And so doing this part, it's been about a year now, with the cotton herbals. And actually, I'm currently growing a whole new set of crops. I did some trading with other Black cotton growers, mostly fiber artists. And so this year I have, I think 5 or 6 varieties of cotton that I'm growing, because I also learned that it comes in different colors, and each fiber feels different. And so it's just been a lot of experimenting and playing. It's been really wonderful to reconnect with the plant, because especially as a Black American, you have this negative association with cotton. And a lot of times when you're Black and you tell people that you grow cotton, they think you're crazy, right? Because they're like, your ancestors did that, we shouldn't be doing that anymore. But what people don't know is that it's one of those plants that we brought with us, right? So it's already knowledge that our ancestors carried. And so I kind of find myself in the space of, I'm a remember. I'm somebody who's remembering what our ancestors did and kind of bringing it back to my community. So
That's wonderful. And I was, as you were talking again, thinking about the origins of cotton, and even here in Arizona, it was an Egyptian cotton fiber that was important to the Goodyear Tire Company, for example, to put in the rubber tire. And then they created Goodyear, Arizona to grow that cotton and start that business. So anyway, just there's links on so many levels. And I'm pleased to know you have a green thumb, because I sure could use some helpful hints. I'm trying to keep everything alive that's already in my yard. So adding something to it would be a certain challenge. But so let's talk about, what do you want people to know about being, not just even about being a small business owner, but about being a Black small business owner? What comes with that? What are there opportunities? Are there challenges? What would you say to that?
I think that there are always both. I have found that support, it's kind of, I don't even know how to describe it. I have found a lot of really great support from other folks in the Black community, which is how I even ended up in Pitch Black. Ashley was like sending me the links to make sure that I applied, and then there's also the struggle of trying to be seen as equal value of other businesses, which a lot of times when you're a Black owned business, there's already this kind of shadow that hangs over, and people they're not quite ready to take you serious. And then they don't really give you the benefit of the doubt as they would other business owners sometimes. And so it can be a struggle, but I have found that when people support me, they really, really, really support me. And that has been across all communities. I have had people who have sent me supplies to support me. I had a woman who, because I'm a doula, and right when the pandemic hit, we weren't allowed in hospitals. She found out that TMC was training doulas to let us come back into the hospital. And she's like, here's the link. I need you to apply. I want you to be my doula. And then, I was able to access this space that other doulas weren't able to get into, just because somebody who already supported me was willing to share that information. So I think that sometimes it's really hard for us to get going, but once we get going, we really receive the support that we need.
And I think that's important advice for anyone, right? That have a support system, know who you can go to be a support, but create that support system and that network of people too, that will be there for you, that will help sing your praises or talk about what you're doing. And again, be there maybe when you need something. So Barbie, maybe you could also respond to that same question. You know, what do you notice about being a Black small business owner that might be unique or different?
Being a Black small business owner, I don't really like to refer to it too much because I think it without sounding harsh, it kind of puts a target on my back. And everyone just thinks more of me. They want more from me. They want me to like stand up and do a big speech every time they see me. So really it is a challenge because it's a standard that I have to keep up, I guess. And just recently this year, like, I got in touch with Ashley again and stuff, but I really wasn't doing much in the Black community because it's always the stereotypes and stuff that comes with it. But now, the pitch competition, it upgraded. It's just a lot more awareness for Black business. So it's a lot better, but yeah, it's something that I have to live up to. And then being younger, when people come into my store, I have a picture up of myself now, but they're like, where's the manager? And I'm like, well, that's me. And they're like, well, where's the owner? You don't own this, And I'm like, well, yes, I do. So it's just so many questions that come with it. So that's always a challenge. And I think people kind of pity me a little bit too, which it sucks because I don't need pity. I just need funding. I need the support. I need the shares, just like any other regular business owner. So it is a little bit of a challenge, but also it's good because then the people that are aware of Black-owned business, they come in, they support, they give me shout outs, So it's a win-lose, but win-win too,
Well, you bring up something that makes me think about, it's that responsibility, right? Like all of a sudden, maybe you feel responsible for so much. And you have to run a business, right? You have to keep your focus. And so I think it's admirable, though, again, just hearing what both of you have been able to accomplish. So let me ask this. Let's talk about how the pandemic may have impacted you and your business. What was your experience during the COVID-19 pandemic, and how has that hurt or helped your business? What would you say, Barbie?
So I had my kiosk in the Tucson Mall in the beginning of the year. About 2 weeks into being open, the mall shut down completely. So it was like crunch time. Okay, how do I still make money? How do I still sell eyelashes? What do I do? Do I give this up? Do I do something else? It was just so much going through my head. And the mall didn't have any answers. We send an email, we ask, and they're like, we're sorry. There's just nothing we can do right now because pretty much the mall is just like a big box of germs, they say. So we had to really wait. So what I did to manage that is like I joined a lot of the webinars that you guys do. I started selling on Walmart.com and Amazon to keep my eyelashes alive and selling. And then just doing a few little jobs here and there, putting eyelashes on people here and there. But it really was tough because just being closed for 4 to 5 months, it really set you back a little bit. And then as the mall opened back up, it was just a few people coming in and out. People were still scared. So I think we've done a good job, as a mall team to keep things sanitized and clean and keeping people comfortable with coming back and shopping more. But I think it definitely set me back a few months because now, I opened my store in March of this year, but I could have opened it a lot sooner. But it all worked out, so it's okay.
Well, it worked out. You went from a kiosk to a space, right? You have a physical space in the mall. And so I hope that's good. It sounds like there's been a lot of growth.
It put me back a little bit, it set everyone back and everyone's trying to learn the new normal, but it did work out, and I'm glad.
That's great. That's great. Adia, how about you? What did the pandemic teach you, or what did you learn from it? What's helped and what's hurt?
So, honestly, I feel like the pandemic was the best thing that could have happened to me. And when I say that, this last year and a half or so, however long, I don't know what day it is, but this last bit of time has been chaotic and it's been very hard But there was so much good that really did come out of it. So I had already started working for myself by the time the pandemic hit, but I had just had a baby. And so then when everything shut down, my husband was no longer able to work. So then I had to get back into working really full time a lot sooner than I had planned. And because of the pandemic, I had to shift what I was offering on my website and as far as my textile business and things like that. But I was able to support the family. But while that was happening, it allowed me access to a lot of the trainings and classes that I wanted to take to improve my work, to improve my offerings as a doula, to just improve my education overall. So because now all these places that had these classes all over the world, I was able to take them from home, and I was able to get that same content, even though I wasn't able to go to France or California or wherever. So that was really great because I was able to I thought it would take me, between 2 and 5 years to accomplish what I was trying to do educational wise. But I was actually able to do it pretty much in 6 months since this new year. And I was able to receive a lot of community support because I do offer, I try to leave spaces open for low income families and teens, unhoused teens, so that I can offer my services to them for free. So I received a lot of support for that, which in turn helped me fund more education and supplies and things like that. So I don't think, and then when you had everything going on with all of the Black Lives Matter protests and George Floyd, that really increased a boost of people supporting Black-owned businesses, which of course I received benefit from that. So for me, it was really great, and it helped me to refocus. Now I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, I can refocus exactly what I want to do with all the parts of my business. The textile side, the herbalist side, the doula side, and figure out how they can work together, and slow down and do things the way that I actually really want to, because I don't have anywhere else to go, right? Like I need to be home and I need to be taking care of my family and we need to be safe. So it allowed me that time to breathe and realize, what's in my control and what's not, and learn how to let go of the things that I can't control and just figure out what works for me, what works for our family. And I feel like even though we're still coming out of the financial losses that happened during this time, we as myself and as a family, we've really figured out where we want to go and how to get there. And I really feel like I'm able to achieve that now. And actually, in August, I'm going to be going on a retreat because of all these things that happen, I'm going on a retreat for Black birth workers and I get to go to Nigeria. So all of these parts that I've been doing, the textiles, the herbalism, the doula work, they're all coming back together. And that whole process of reclamation and reconnecting with my ancestors is coming full circle. And I get to go step on the soil of my ancestors and learn all of that collectively and then come back. And now with everything opening up, I get to share all of that goodness that I've received with other people.
Wow. I can absolutely see why both of you were winners of the competition. You both have some amazing stories, and it sounded like a year of learning for you, which is awesome. Not only that having a new baby, but the education that you took advantage of in a way that I think all of us found was available and accessible virtually. And who would have thought, right? We weren't thinking that way before. So now having those doors open to us where we can take advantage of coursework from our homes, I think is amazing. And so good for you to do that. And I think that's a great piece of advice for small business as well. So I'll ask this last question and then we'll keep rolling. What about the tools here in the community? Do you have what you need to be successful? And if not, what would you need to be successful? What would help if it were available in the community? So Adia, what would you say to that?
I think that there definitely the resources and the tools are here. It's about having access to them. And I think like most small business owners, it's really about funding and financing, right? For me, there are lots of supplies that go into being a doula. You know, I do lactation education, I do placenta work, I do loss, I do all these different things. And there are, it costs money to get the supplies to do things. So, and then, you know, you factor in my textile business, that also costs money. I have to buy fabric, and it's cheaper if you can buy larger quantities, right? You have to pay your shipping, you have to buy whatever it is that you need. So it's really always about funding, and it's always about building that client base. So what I personally need are people to continue to support my work as far as helping me support those in the community that cannot afford my services but need their services, which I think is everybody needs a doula for all kinds of things. I don't think that people really understand the importance of a doula, but it's not just, oh, I'm going to help you have a baby. It's, I'm going to help you heal. I'm going to help you be healthy. I'm going to help you. For me, I like to think of myself as a transition worker because I do loss. I do like end of life, like for if you've lost a pregnancy or if you're losing a partner or you're sick and you know that the end is coming and you want to be prepared, like that is all part of what I'm doing. And so, you know, if you want to help me, that requires funding to help people who need access to that kind of care. I need people to share my page, to share my website, to share my social media. And then I think that the work that I do will speak for itself. And as it continues to grow, I won't need so much help because it will be coming already, because people will have already seen that what I'm doing is worthy.
So just to press a little further on the access to capital or the financial products, are you finding that capital here in Tucson? Do you have some lending partners? Have you reached out? Or, what's been your success there?
I have done a lot of, you know, I can't really say where all my funding comes from because most of it is coming electronically. So I haven't pinpointed exactly which community it is. It's been around the world, to be honest. People are donating through my website, and just, you know, when I post on social media, they come through my Venmo and things like that. But I know that there are people in Tucson who are actively engaged in supporting me, and they share my stuff, they donate when possible. So I know that Tucson is supporting that. I can't say that it's predominantly Tucson. And I do work with a collective of doulas, and we have support. I'm not in that part of that, so I can't tell you exactly how all that works, but I do know that we have a partner that helps us support low-income families, specifically Black low-income families throughout the state of Arizona.
And it sounds like, so you are really raising a lot of funding and capital, rather than going the loan route, rather than, right. And so, but I did see a question from someone who would love your website. If you want to share that in the chat, please feel free to do that. And again, that goes for everyone here today. If there's websites or contact information, that was also a question of how they can reach out to you. So Barbie, what do you say to that? Do you have what you need to be successful? If not, what would help you?
So just like Adia was saying with funding, my situation is a little bit different because, you know, I have a storefront now. But when it comes to funding with businesses, a problem that I run into a lot, like with banks, is that they want you to be in business for a certain amount of time. And then, you know, your business, tax history and stuff like that. And since I was closed majority of last year, getting funding this year has been a little bit harder for me. So I've done a lot more outreach and stuff, you know, doing competitions and stuff like that to get more community support in. But also what it comes down to too is publicity and ads, I would say, getting my name out there more and letting people know that I have an eyelash store in the mall. I can post as much as I want on social media, people sharing, but it's still not enough to really get the word out. Because, you know, my friends or family share some random people here and there, but a lot of people really don't realize that I have a store in the mall now because I'm upstairs. So really publicity and more knowledge of my store, of my business, I think would help. And this is helping a lot, so thank you. But I think outside of the funding, it's just getting my name out there more, getting my business out there, and people just knowing, you know, there is an eyelash store in the mall. And since the pitch competition, I'm looking into getting a kiosk at the other mall. So hopefully that goes well. But yeah, it's really just getting our names out there more, letting people know that what we offer as a business and to support us and share, because the more shares, you know, it just reaches certain people farther out or whatever. Really just publicity, I would say. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. And I'm glad to hear you're thinking of expanding already again. So that's a great sign. And I appreciate those comments. So we'll keep going, but I do want to encourage everyone to keep asking questions. If you have those, feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A, and we will ask those even as we wrap up. But I'm gonna switch gears and bring up Glenna Overstreet. Glenna is the Parks and Recreation Administrator for the City of Tucson Parks and Recreation Department. She's been with the city for 33 years, which is a long time. Yes. I'm sure she has a pin for that somewhere. She began as a non-permanent staff member and advanced over time to positions of Recreation Program Coordinator, Recreation Supervisor, and Superintendent in both Recreation and Park Maintenance. She was promoted to Administrator in 2016. Glenna is responsible for the Recreation Division Tech Team, Marketing and Promotions Unit, and Administrative functions. She assumed a citywide special event coordination role in 2018. Glenna holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Arizona in Physical Education, Exercise, and Sports Science. So welcome, Glenna. Thanks for being with us today. Really happy to have you, because I think this is going to be a great topic as you hear from our small businesses, and then the things that you're going to share about will give some opportunities, I think, and maybe some light bulb moments for connection. So I'd love for you to take a few minutes, share your perspectives, trends, or information related to the citywide special events. So Glenna?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me. First of all, you talked about event activity, how it's going right now. We have been in a holding mode for quite a while. It's not that we've not been working for the last year and a half, because we had so many events that were already in process. We spent much of 2020 trying to decide if we were going to have events or we were not going to have events, and communicating with the organizers. The city leadership has been very consistent over time with the COVID pandemic, been very, very cautious and again, consistently. And so we've canceled a lot of things, but I think we're about ready to get back in business. We've been accepting applications for the last year or so and putting them in queue, holding them in the order that we receive them to make sure we didn't have any venue conflicts and that sort of thing. And we have high hopes for the fall. I'm waiting on the final to start processing things. We did start some park property events in mid-May. These were smaller events, weddings, some quinceañeras, little events that we could do and really, focus on social distancing and some of the COVID precautions. We were also able to do some drive-through events in the midst of COVID, where people stayed in their vehicles and didn't get out of their vehicle from entry to exit of a venue, and we were able to hand out so many things. But I thought fall is a great time, because obviously that's typically a big event time in Tucson anyway. And almost 100% of all the activities that come through that I process are outdoors anyway. So I think we're a little safer doing that. It's a huge plus to be in the outdoors. We've been working in tandem with the Pima County Natural Resources, Parks and Recreation, and kind of following their lead, and the Pima County Health Department in terms of what types of protocols we might need and that sort of thing. And I think we're working right now on adjusting our special event application. What you see on the website is the current version, but I'm working on adjusting at least the signature page so that we can move forward without mandates for people, but recognizing and having people sign that they recognize the responsibilities around following guidelines and recommendations, and that at any time we could cancel if things don't go in the way that we had hoped with conditions. But we're very optimistic right now. Working with organizers, they've been great in the sense that they, when we asked them for COVID plans, when we thought we might be able to start rolling early on, their plans were much more stringent and thoughtful and conscientious than we would have actually even mandated. So people have been wonderful about really thinking things through and thinking about public safety and public health.
And you heard earlier from our business owners themselves, you know, the challenges of marketing and advertising their business and getting their names known and their products and services known. From your perspective, how do special events play a role in that? And what would you share with businesses in terms of the things? Because, you know, Tucson, we're a city of festivals, right? There was always multiple options every weekend, a city with lots of things to choose from to do. You know, if you were actually bored in Tucson, you weren't looking outside your door, you weren't looking hard enough. So getting back to that kind of activity, what would you say for businesses to do or be thinking about when selecting what events to be part of?
Well, I think you kind of have to do your homework. It just depends on whether you want to participate in an event or if you want to be something on the periphery where it just draws people in, especially in the downtown area. There are a lot of large events that take place in the downtown area as we begin to ramp up. One that comes to mind is the El Tour. And they're planning again. They've been planning all along and postponing and planning and postponing, but they're hoping to draw 7,000 people to the downtown area. And they're hoping to have a 3-day event at Armory Park, this sort of a festival atmosphere for the participants and anyone else who wants to join. But that just provides so many opportunities for the people who have businesses in that area to, provide specials and tag on to this large event where we're going to be bringing so many people into the downtown area. I think that's really important. Kind of knowing when the events happen, that's a little bit of a challenge for us because we don't have a calendar per se in the special events website. We've not quite figured out exactly how to do that and keep it in real time so that it doesn't become more obsolete or provide misinformation. But we're always happy to help. Visit Tucson is a great partner in letting people know what's going on. Downtown Tucson Partnership helps a lot. We can be contacted at any time and provide information. I just provided some information for a lady this past week who was just looking to see what was out there. I don't necessarily give contact information for the folks, but I give the name of the event, the date, the location. That helps people to research and figure out who they maybe need to talk to.
That's awesome. And I'm looking at a couple of the questions here. There's one from someone who owns a biking and hiking company that definitely depends on tourism. The question is there any way to advertise services at these events? So can businesses, I mean, like you said, you pretty much can share the event information, they reach out, maybe they find what's possible. What would you say, or what are some examples of exposure and advertising opportunities that you've seen?
Well, a lot of that comes down to what the organizers are willing to have as a part of their event. My role is really just to help coordinate with those event organizers and all the different city departments and make sure that they have the proper permits and that they have the approval to do everything that they need to do safely and to bring the community out. We don't necessarily do the marketing part of that. And I think it's just connecting with those event organizers to say, hey, I have this to offer. Perhaps I can be a part of what you're doing. And in some cases, those organizers may not have even thought about that. So it might be a great way to connect people in that sense.
I'm seeing a future seminar or webinar or opportunity for matchmaking there. I'm seeing that. That's great. No, so you mentioned a little bit about the changes since COVID and how event planners are responding to that. What if you're a small business owner thinking about having or creating an event? What is the process for that? What do they need to think about? How do they come to the city for the permits they need? Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, before I get into that, I do want to mention also that we have an association here in town called FEATS AZ, Festivals and Events Association of Tucson and Southern Arizona. And you can become a member of that. It's really inexpensive, but they meet on a regular basis once a month, and they have mixers. They talk about different concepts around organizing an event. And it's a good way to meet people. It's a good way to network with event organizers. And it's open to just about anybody who would like to join and is interested in that. So FEATS AZ is the name of that. I don't have the link with me, but you can look it up. Festivals and Events Association of Tucson and Southern Arizona.
Great.
So in terms of the way that we process events, we have a web page, and I gave that to someone to put in the chat. The web page is going to be updated a little bit. As I said before, our application is going to be updated to include some information about how not changing the information per se, but you're going to have to sign off that you understand the responsibilities of the COVID precautions, and that we could cancel if we have to. But that information is all on there. It's not just the application on that website. There is just a ton of information from all the different departments, all the different things you might have to consider as you're doing an event. And I suggest before someone even submit an application to us using that website, that they really take the time to read and follow all the hyperlinks and see all of the different nuances, because there are things within the application. There are even hyperlinks in the application, and everything on that page and within the application will provide information that you probably never even thought about. And it might even spark some creative juices for things that you can do as you're planning an event. I suggest also that if you want to plan an event around your business, you can also talk to someone who's hosted an event and even see if there's something that you want to do. I know there's been a lot of extension of premise and that sort of thing going on in some areas based on COVID and getting people outdoors as a part of a business. So I think there are a lot of resources there that people can tap into. What we do basically is take your application and put it out to all the different departments and figure out what the needs are, and then we help walk you through it. So we're always here as a resource. We have within the Parks Department, if you're doing an event, if you're part of an event that is on park property as well, we have a new special Parks special events coordinator who's very good, and she's willing to help just about anybody and walk them through just any event that they would like to do or be a part of. So
that's great. That's great. I was, when you think about those opportunities, what about the impact? Can you speak to, let's take non-COVID years, maybe the numbers, the thousands of people maybe that we call event attendees, or what would be your comments around the economic impact of special events in our city?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of the economic impact data. I know it's great. And Visit Tucson is the entity that really gathers that type of information. I do know that back in 2019, we were up to like 261 events that were being processed through my office. And could be anything from a small event of 200 or 300 people to events as large as 250,000 people, like at the street fairs over the course of 3 days on 4th Avenue. So, there's a great impact to our city for all of these big events. We do have a lot in the downtown area. We have a lot at Reed Park. There's a Armory Park downtown, Hakame Plaza. These are great venues where we have a lot of activity. Now, this year, right now, I've got about 89 events that are either in queue or have happened in some form or fashion. So we're down a little bit. People maybe not quite yet ready to take a chance, or just waiting on us to say, let's go, and then the floodgates will open, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, this brings people to Tucson. A lot of these events, we have a lot of events that are local, which are wonderful as well. And then we have some of the big events like the L Tour that brings people from all over the world. And it's just great exposure for everyone, and it is great economic impact. Those are folks who stay in our hotels and eat at our restaurants and visit our businesses, and so all of these events. And we're recognized as like you said, a World Festival and Events City. We got that designation back in 2018, and so great recognition, and it's in our culture, it's in our DNA here in Tucson. So.
That's awesome. We're all excited, I think, for the fall season to really get back outside at a lot of the events that are held outdoors, but also inside our venues, right, for arts and all of the things that go with that. the entertainment, the food, everything that comes along with that. Maybe part of it, and maybe you're hearing from event planners about this. I mean, that interruption in time with the pandemic probably created an interruption in planning as well. It was hard for people to figure out, well, when do I start planning and really committing things and, committing the entertainers or, again, the caterers or any of the things that you need for all of that to happen. And so everyone's probably moving fast, would you say, right now to get, so you mentioned about 89 events, but still some to come, and maybe the bulk of those in the fall and the winter. What do you think some of the highlights will be? Can you share?
Yeah, we've got, some of our typical events I think are going to be coming back this year. We're working, and again, I don't have the final, yes, we're going, but we've got Dusk Music Festival, Tucson Meet Yourself, again, the El Tour, the 4th Avenue Street Fair, even some local events like Made in Tucson has put in an application. And these are small businesses on 4th Avenue, local businesses, lots and lots of performance things. We're going to be doing concerts in the parks again, those types of things. I don't handle the gem show. That's one of the big ones that I don't do. And I also don't do the 4th of July fireworks, but those are handled out of the manager's office. Those things, have come back to some degree. They dipped a toe in the water this year. And I think that helped bring people to Tucson. So, I think there's a lot coming up.
Awesome. All right. So we're all strapping our shoes on for this. And so there's no shortage of opportunities. So that's great. And I was watching some of the responses. It looks like there's great information in the chat about FEATS AZ, which you mentioned, Southern Arizona Attractions Alliance, working with them. So thanks, Tom, for that information. TucsonFestivals.org is a place you can go and find more information. So it looks like, and then I also loved this one because it looks like our director with the El Tour is in the house. And so he has put in the El Tour to Tucson.org website. So you can go there and find out what's the latest on that big cycling event. So it's exciting. I think everyone is ready to get back to business. Just while I have the conversation going, Barbie, I wanted to mention there was a question about where your location was inside the mall. If you would put that in the chat, that would be fantastic. And then I think, Liliana, we've answered some of your questions. If not, ask me again with your question in the chat on the website that you were interested in, or let me know if you got that. All right. So again, if there are other questions, feel free to ask away. In the meantime, I'm thinking I want to see what we've heard. Adia, Barbie, you've been listening to Glenna even share about events and the activity level and the ways to participate. What are your thoughts in terms of how do events play a role? And I'll ask Adia this first. Do events and festivals and sort of special events like what we've been talking about, do they play a part in helping tell your story and helping build your brand? What would you say to that?
They absolutely do. And prior to COVID, I was just getting my footing in participating in various events around the city. And so I was actually really disappointed when the pandemic started. And then I had finally got all this stuff and I was finally feeling like, okay, I know how to do this. And then now we haven't been able to do it. But I'm actually really hoping to be able to participate in some of the ones coming up in the fall. I believe it was the 4th Avenue one, which now I can't think of what it's called. They're trying to figure out if they're gonna start up again. I participated in that in the past, and that was really a good one. And I think it's really great because it helps build it helps build a new audience, but also it connects you with other vendors and other people. I've made friendships through those events and getting to know other people. And, sometimes we swap services and goods, which is really great. So I definitely think that these events help.
Awesome. So Barbie, What about for your business?
So I started out just doing swap meets, pop-up shops, things like that. So for me and my business, it's really big. That's how I funded the store. But just recently, we did our first pop-up since COVID, and it was a Juneteenth event at the Dunbar. And it went really well. It was outside, so that was good. It was a really good turnout. So it was a good way to get our feet wet back into like the pop-ups and the festival scene. So I think we'll start doing a little bit more of that because there's a lot of connections to be made. It's a lot of business cards being handed out. And we sold a whole bunch of eyelashes. So it plays a really big part. Word of mouth goes a long way. And then when someone can meet you, get to know your personality, and then learn your brand through that, it's a really big thing. And it kind of connects you a little bit. So then they'll come and shop again. They'll come see you again. So it plays a really big part for me. Yeah.
And you have a unique perspective being a tenant of the mall. I would be curious to hear how that experience is. You know, for a while there, people were concerned what would be the future of the mall? How has that changed? What do you like about it? What works for you there? And yeah, what's your experience?
Well, I do a lot of marketing, social media marketing and stuff. And you never hear anyone ever say, oh, I'm going to run to the eyelash store. I'll be right back. You know, but when they're in the mall shopping, oh, I'm going to run and grab a dress. I'm going to run and grab a gift. They'll see the eyelash store and then they'll stop in. So that's why I decided to come inside of the mall, because it's already traffic here that I can take advantage of. But the mall, it's a little bit tricky because sometimes it's slow days, sometimes it's not. And then they're a little bit stricter, but they also help guide me. So if I have any questions, help with this and that, I can always reach out to mall management and then they'll let me know. As opposed to just being on a storefront on my own, I'll have to try to get more traffic in, cars pulling in. And a lot of people won't stop to buy a pair of eyelashes. They'll just grab it at Walmart if they're already grabbing something. So it really works for me selling such a small product.
Excellent. And so, Glenna, that makes me think about your role and how events play a part in activating spaces. I mean, and even you could comment, I mean, is the mall a place where we're starting to see more events? What's happening? How are we activating our commercial corridors or areas that really do help business? What would you say?
Well, I would say that, yeah, I believe that that's definitely an avenue. It's not the avenue that I necessarily help with because I tend to do things more on city properties and within the city limits. And if it's a private property and they have certain needs like street closures or special event liquor license, those kinds of things, we get involved. But we do hear a lot about things going on in the parking lot at Park Mall or sometimes within Park Mall. I don't permit those, but yeah, I believe there's definitely a space, especially this is Tucson. It's not going to cool off until October. So outdoors isn't the only answer. And I think that, I think that events within the malls are great places to pull people together. A lot of people go to the mall for some respite at this point to get out of the heat. So I think it's a good spot.
Awesome. Okay, great. All right. Well, we have had a fantastic conversation today. So I'm thrilled to have all three of you amazing women on and be our guests today and share your perspectives with our small business community. And so again, we'll make this available on video. So we'll have the recording available for people to look at. And you're actually welcome to share it with those in your circles as well as is everyone that's on today. So I think we've gotten most of the questions answered. So again, just a big thank you to our speakers. So I'll wrap us up. We'll be back next month on Monday, July 26th at 3 p.m. So watch your inbox for the announcement and registration link. We'll keep you connecting for success. That's our promise. So don't forget, you can also call our City of Tucson Office of Economic Initiatives Small Business Assistance Line at 520-837-4100. And you can visit connecttucson.com for resources. You can also sign up for our email newsletter and updates there. You just scroll down the homepage just towards the bottom, and there's a place for you to enter your email contact information so that you won't miss any of our important updates. And trust me, there'll be a lot of opportunities to share good resources with you. We've talked about access to capital, and there's lots of great resources and lending partners listed on our website. There will be other opportunities as we look at federal funding coming down through the American Rescue Act And, so I think that there'll be plenty of resources to take us through the end of this year as we recover from this pandemic. So definitely stay connected with us. And everyone have a great afternoon. So again, thank you all.